Welcome to Money Matters TV. My name is Paul Mitchell. I'm a Vice President with Beneficial Bank. I am your co-host today. With me is our other co-host, Patty Tawadros.
Nice to meet
Xercel.
you.
Nice
Good
to
job,
see you.
good job.
We're having an interesting show tonight, and we'll have our featured guest, Adam Moskow, on a little bit later. But right now, we'd just like to talk a little bit with Patty. Patty has a business in technology, which sounds very interesting. I'd like to get to know her a little bit better. Patty, how'd you get into the business?
You know, it's kind of just something that happened. I started out, my dad had a printing business, so I started out working for my dad when I was a teenager, making extra cash. And then I started in a manufacturing company doing graphic design. I asked to get trained on the internet when the internet came out. They thought I was crazy. Why would I want to do that? And then
When does the internet come out?
Probably 1995 is when it sort of became mainstream. 96 is when companies started to really adopt it in their organizations. So I asked to go to training. They thought I was nuts. I went to training.
Wow.
I really kind of fell in love with it because if you make a mistake, you can fix it immediately. Where in the print world, when you print something, you have 20,000 copies.
Ouch.
That's around forever. And I still love print, but I really fell in love with technology and the instant appeal of it. Yeah.
Well, why is it important for websites to be mobile friendly? And what exactly does that mean?
So everybody thinks, oh, I got my device out and I'm looking at stuff and I can see it on my phone. I can see it on my iPad. Oh, if it has Flash, you can't see it on an Apple device, which is bizarre. But you think that's all you need. But now Google put some rules in place that your search engine rankings when you're on a mobile device searching, which is where most people do their searching. It's actually tipped the scale, so it's beyond 50% our people are actually using their mobile devices to search on the internet, to use Facebook and social media. So your website needs to be that kind that collapses down. Do you ever see the website? It has the little lines for navigation.
I think.
Do you navigate on your phone?
Yeah, well, I do. I use my phone quite a lot. Yeah, I place orders. I order things from different websites and get receipts and save them receipts on my phone and things like that.
So the reason it's important is that you won't come up as a business in the search rankings as high as someone that's mobile friendly for the same search. So if your organization, let's say you have a restaurant and somebody's looking for some place to eat out on Friday night and they're not using Yelp or they're not using OpenTable to make a reservation, just as a quick example, your restaurant's not going to come up or your bar is not going to come up above someone who's invested the money to make their site mobile friendly.
So does Google or the website people, they determine how that happens, or just because of the technology it happens automatically?
It's because of the way the site is written, the code, running the back end. So Google sends out the little search crawls, and it crawls the site, and it sees the code it's written in, and then it makes a decision on how to rank you.
Okay. Well, what else can a company do to grow its business on the internet?
I'm a big fan of social media. And it's really terrible because I don't do it for my own organization because I don't have time, which is great, which means I don't need to be any bigger. But as far as other organizations trying to get exposure, what I always tell people is that conversation is already happening about you. Whether you're in it or not, people are going to either appreciate you and give you great remarks on their Facebook page, on their personal, they're going to tweet about it, or they're going to trash you. And the important part is to get into that conversation and be able to respond to it and engage. And that's a big deal.
Maybe you can give me some free advice.
Okay.
I'm a vice president with a community bank. We deal with small businesses.
Okay.
And traditionally, I sort of felt, well, if we do social media to attract businesses and, with attorneys or accountants or something like that, they're going to say, why is this bank bothering me with all this stuff all day long? And may have the wrong impression that I'm trying to make. How would you advise a community bank to use social media?
So what I would say is you are a community bank. You need to become part of your community. So I'm sure that you guys do some volunteering or donating.
I certainly do, yes, absolutely. I'm active in that, I'm a trustee of a nonprofit, sure.
So I think the important thing is to promote the volunteer opportunities that you're involved in using social media, and you can invite people in the community to join in. So if you're doing some sort of cleanup, I don't know if you do a cleanup, but if you're planting a garden, let's say you're a community bank and you decide to invest money in a local garden, I think it's a great way to do a call on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook and even Instagram to encourage people to show up that we're sponsoring this
Now that I like
garden.
because I'm not trying to sell product or services. That's the thing that I get concerned about.
It's that soft touch. You don't want to go in there and hit them over the head.
Right, right.
And, you know, with ads that are targeted at people that aren't doing well in their business. Maybe they just recently searched bankruptcy.
Right, right. Or here's our rate on our latest car loan product or something like that.
Nobody cares. But if somebody is actually searching in using Google or using Facebook, you can actually tailor the ads based on their search history. So if somebody's looking at cars, you can actually deliver ads to them about your loan rates. So that's a nice way to take advantage of it and not seem like you're trying to manipulate them.
Exactly.
Right.
I like that approach a lot. So when you deal with small businesses, your clients, what kind of strategies do you implement for them on social media? Maybe give an example or two.
So one of my clients is a flashlight company, and they're one of the largest. And that's the exact example of I see their customers go online and you feel like, I shouldn't even say it, but that they're making up their complaints to get something. You know, that expression, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So they go on there and say something that, as a third party, I think is probably not realistic as to how something happened. But the client wants the reputation to be a certain way, and they're going to make the effort and show the customer that, you know, the customer's right and they're going to help them. And that's the unfortunate result of social media. And that'll happen for any business. Someone will go and complain about something that may or may not have happened exactly as they say it, just to get a response.
Sure. Well, I do a little bit of international travel.
Yeah.
And when I do that, so I look up there's some websites that have customer ratings, like you said, you know, reports their experience at hotels or at a restaurant or a resort or things like that. And I find that in order to get at least for me to believe something, I've got to see it said a lot of different ways and a lot of different times, not one or two people that are just complaining because they're from a country that is not understood and where they're visiting or something like that.
Yeah, you see that, and especially you'll see in those hotel ones like TripAdvisor, that sometimes the hotel owner will actually, or the general manager, they'll go in and respond to a negative complaint.
Right, I've seen that.
And try and resolve that issue. And it's important to resolve the issue and then not just resolve it behind the scenes in Facebook and Twitter. You can ask people to direct message you or send you an email offline to take the argument or the complaint offline so that the entire world's not seeing you try and deal with a situation, a customer service issue, which you don't really want that out in the public eye anyway. But once it's done, you need to go back to social media and find a way to politely say that you resolved this issue. So people just don't see a bunch of negative complaints and they all disappear and they don't see resolutions. So people want to see a company resolving an issue as well.
Sure.
Right.
So if you have a client and you're consulting for them to help them grow their business through social media, how do they know they're getting results?
So a great way is the click-through. So you're running a promotion, for example, let's say it's for the bank and you want to promote awareness of the bank. So on your actual website, we would create a page that's about the new park that you're going to build on the corner of whatever, somewhere in here. And we build a page, and the page is all about the park and what you're going to do at the park and a sign-up form. And then on social media, we run an ad or a campaign that drives people to go back to your website page. And we use Google Analytics embedded in the page to actually track the success. Because you're not going to just keep giving me money if you're not seeing a result.
Well, that's,
right.
I mean, the old days it was like, I don't know, views or clicks or something like that, and values would increase if somebody had 10 million clicks, but what does that really mean? I mean,
I think that's it. You have to show results. Another client, we're implementing a tool that allows them to run the ads, drive the lead to the website, and then they fill out a form to get more information about a product. And then it goes into their contact management system, and then they're able to follow up. So it's a way for them to actually monetize it. And I said to them, why don't we start with a small budget, a few $100s, and then when you see the result, you'll decide it's worth actually spending a lot of money, because it, a $200 translates into a $10,000 job. You're going to spend $20,000 on advertising.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's have another example. So I'm going to be calling on I'll say a large hardware store. It's not like part of a big chain, but family-owned, community hardware store. What advice should I give them in terms of doing their social media the best way?
No doubt they have a Yelp review. Somebody's gone on there and said, I went there and found exactly what I wanted, great customer service, love having a family-operated small business. That seems to be that feeling of, what is the American Express shop small? Do you know that?
I think
they have a day for local businesses, right? So I would make sure that they're in social media and that they're actually running campaigns to promote their organization. So when you have things like the holidays are coming and they wanted to sell Christmas wreaths or Christmas trees or any lights for outside, that's a great time for them to run it. It's specific to the community.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Patty.
Sure.
Some good perspectives. And I think small businesses are the heart of America.
Yes.
And they need all the help they can get. Though, despite whether they get help or not, overall they seem to be growing and prospering, and so it's a great place to do business. Helps the economy.
Thank you.
We have a question from one of our viewers, from Mark Victor of Ardmore. How do you see business developing in the next 6 months? Now, I think there's kind of a two-part answer there. I think one part is the economy in general, and there's some perspectives on it. For example, how's the employment been going? And it's been unemployment has been decreasing in the last 6, 12, 18, 24 months. So that certainly is positive. Stock market is another gauge that's had its ups and downs for various things. But overall, I think the next 6 months, I think things will do reasonably well. Interest rates is another aspect. There's been some talk about that. So interest rates have started to edge up a little bit. Now that's good news and bad news. Nobody likes to pay higher interest rates, but the good news is that means the economy is growing at a fast enough pace that our regulators, the Federal Reserve, want to put a little bit of the brakes on so we don't run into rampant inflation, which we've suffered from in decades past. So that's one aspect of it. So overall, I think it's going to be great. I don't have a crystal ball. No economist has a crystal ball. So I wouldn't go out and do too drastic a thing relying upon the fact that the economy is going to just be great the next 6 months. But overall, it looks like it's going to be improving. One of the important sectors of the economy, of course, is technology. And Patty has the background there. Perhaps you could add some perspectives.
Yeah, I would say probably in the next 6 months, you're going to see more of a move of people reinvesting into their organization, making their websites mobile friendly, maybe building apps if it's relevant to their organization without going crazy. Not everybody needs an app on their phone for their organization. But I would say that's it. People need to start reinvesting and taking advantage of social media.
Here's how to send your question to Money Matters TV.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
Our featured guest to the show is Adam Moskow. Adam is president of Business Consulting, Pivotal Business Solutions. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Hi, thank you.
Good to have you here. So you provide solutions, I guess, important solutions. Now, how did you get in the business, Adam?
Sure. So I've been a serial entrepreneur. I graduated from Wharton Business School, and after that worked briefly in Goldman Sachs. And since then, I've been running a number of entrepreneurial businesses. One was a publishing company I was a part owner of. The next was an inbound, outbound call center, which initially was a client and then ended up buying half of it. We grew it over 10 years, and I was the COO. We won the Philly 100 list 2 years in a row. We were in the top 100. We were able to sell that, and then did that again with an internet advertising agency.
You sound qualified to give advice to growing businesses.
Hope so.
But specifically, how does Pivotal help companies?
So we do one of three things for companies. We do planning, recruiting, and operations work. On the planning side, we help a lot of early stage businesses who are looking to get their next round of funding, looking to grow, looking to change their business. So we'll come in, meet with the founder, the entrepreneur, the CEO, help them write a business plan, help them get venture funding, help them launch their company, assemble a board of advisors, and grow their team. On the recruiting side, we help companies that are in need of talent. Could be a controller, a CEO, a sales VP, an account manager. We help them hire the people they want to hire.
Mm-hmm.
And then last piece is operations. So a lot of our clients are growing and they've got growing pains. They need help with their operations, how to get to the next level, how to take their team and enhance it, how to improve skills, efficiency, how to grow their market.
So I have I guess a question that has two parts. One is, what is the average size of a company that you work with, and what is their market? Do you have a specialty or niche?
Yeah, sure, we do. So I would say the average size is anywhere from 2 employees. We have a lot of companies that are early stage to 100. So 2 to 100. So they're small and growing. What they have in common is they're all privately held and they're all growing. So in terms of the niche, most are technology companies. A lot of software companies, web companies, applications. Some are biotechnology, but a lot of tech, a lot of high tech.
How did you end up specializing in that space?
That's interesting. So I started out always having an interest in it, and one of the companies that I was helping run, Unreal Marketing, had a lot of technology clients, and I worked with a lot of them. I then started doing work with Ben Franklin Technology Partners, and we did due diligence for them, myself and my team, and became to be known in Philly as the place to go to for technology companies. And it kind of led to more tech companies. And now 90% of our clients are tech, and I just love the space because there's such growth and so many ways to help the companies.
So specifically, what do you do to help a company launch? And could you give us a real life example? You don't have to mention names, but just a real example.
Sure. So what we do is we help them, the entrepreneur comes to us, the CEO, the founder, and at different times they have different levels of success already. Some may have just the concept and they've invested some money. Some may have already built a website. They come to us, they don't have a plan, they don't know how to look at the market, they're not sure how to put together a board of advisors, and they don't have talent. They themselves may have talent, but they don't have employees yet. So we will sit down with them, we'll begin to create a plan, we'll look at the market. What's really important is surveying. A lot of companies start their business, they might have been in business for a year or two, they want to grow to the next level, and there's great data. You can survey your market, you can ask customers and prospects, you can do first-hand research and second-hand. We'll help with research, we'll put together a marketing plan and a business plan, help them assemble a board, help them do projections as to how much money they want to raise, and then help position them to present to funding sources. That's a lot of the ways we help them get going.
Actually, writing a business plan. How long is your typical business plan?
So again, it depends on what their need is. I've had some clients who want a plan to be able to go friends and family, and we'll write a 10-page plan. Others have been looking to raise millions of dollars, and the plan might be 30 or 40 pages.
Okay.
I teach business planning down at Wharton at the Small Business Center, and you want to fit it to the need of the customer. So you want to suit it to the client, and I'm a huge believer that the plan should be something that is iterative. So they create the plan not to go on their shelf, but to use it.
Yep.
It should be living and breathing and active.
Do you hold them accountable?
I do. So
Yeah.
so that's another thing that's nice. So our most successful clients have us help them write the plan, and then typically they want ongoing support from our team. So we'll write the plan and we'll come up with goals together, and we'll say, okay, 30 days from now we're checking back. What do you want our team at Pivotal Business Solutions to do? What will your team do? And we each have deliverables. We then meet 30 days later or 2 weeks later, depending upon their needs, and they're held accountable. And the mere act of having somebody who you're going to be accountable to increases performance, increases your results. So it's very iterative and very interactive, and those clients are much more likely to succeed. And the ones who don't succeed, our goal is to have them succeed, or I should say fail quicker. It's kind of like software design, fail quickly and iteratively, and then reinvent. And you should constantly be reinventing and changing your business.
Yeah, we will say the art of the pivot
Exactly.
from the technology space, yeah.
And that's why we came up with our name, because you want to pivot to the next
That
solution.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, you're not the only business consulting company out there. How do you compete with those others that, to the outside observer, they all say the same thing? How do you differentiate?
So I guess our differentiation is a couple. So in this space, I would say there's kind of 3 different types of consultants. There's the large firms who, Accenture, Bain, our clients in our space aren't affording them. They're $800 an hour, $1,000 an hour. They don't know this space. Then there's people that are what I would really call serial consultants. So they go work for one client at a time, and they work there for 6 months. There are very few people in Philadelphia who are working in the technology space that have a team of 5 people like we do, expert in the space, who all we do is, in a continuing basis, support that team. And we're involved in the community. You mentioned community banking.
Yes.
We're involved in the Philadelphia community with tech startups. And so, and also tech mature companies. So some of our clients are in the technology space and have been around for 10, 20, 30 years. And again, they still want to grow. They have an issue. They might be a $10 million company going to $20 million. So our differentiation is we know the technology and we know that size business.
So do you see money in Philadelphia for tech startups?
We do. I would say that Philadelphia has had a great, great resurgence of late between Ben Franklin Technology Partners, between the banking industry, between Dream Ventures, Wharton, Drexel, a lot of competitions in Philly, and a lot of venture. There's Philly Tech Week every year in April. It's a fantastic event for people to go to and get involved with. So a lot of talent because of the universities, and then a lot of entrepreneurs as well.
And there are a bunch of angel groups too.
There are. There are.
What is the average angel investment these days? And it used to be, before I just had an idea in the early 2000s, look at my idea on a piece of paper and they would
Right.
write you a check.
Right.
What does it take these days to get money out of them?
So, it's kind of funny. I'd say there's really kind of 3 different levels of funding. So the first is friends and family. People get money literally from friends and family. And they might raise 10,000, 50,000, 100. When someone's going to an angel, typically they want to raise buckets of 50,000. So 50,000 from half a dozen people. And you're right, it used to be the case you just could have a great idea. Now people want to see a business plan. A lot of them want to see some proof of concept. So not necessarily that you have $1 million in revenue, but you've tested your product. You have something where some users are testing it and it's viable.
That's
and
it?
No, well, oftentimes, which makes it
It's
tough.
like, I got that.
No. Oftentimes what's tough though is people want to see your team. So when we
Yeah.
help Ben Franklin, one of the biggest things they look at is who is your team? Who's the founder? If you have a COO, who is that? If you're writing technology, have they been successful before? Even if they failed, people love that. The fact that you've actually tried something, even if you haven't failed, what have you learned? Are you hungry? Do you have passion? Do you have intelligence? Are you able to assemble a team?
If we have an established company with a CEO watching the show, what would be the timing for them to consider engaging a consultant?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. A lot of times the hardest challenge we face is not competition, not that there aren't other people that can help small businesses grow. It's the CEO deciding that he or she wants to have somebody help them. Most entrepreneurs and CEOs are visionaries, strong-willed, and don't like to be told what to do. So oftentimes the best way is if a friend, a colleague, someone else who's used our services is talking to someone who's a founder, is a CEO, has been running a business, and says, here's how this person helped us, here's how their team did it, pivotal. And when you do, the kind of situation, it could be that they've got a problem with their team, that they want to expand and they've tried different means and they haven't attracted the right talent. Because your team is all you have in business. Most of our technology companies aren't typically, they don't have plants. It's not the issue. It's their talent and who's helping them grow the company. So it's when they have a pain or an opportunity, reach out. And we help companies, we don't saddle people with year-long, tens of thousands of dollars commitments. We start small, we help them succeed, and if they like our services, keep using us or another consultant.
Well, talking about good employees, and you're engaged in the hiring business also. What's the hiring market these days in this area?
Yeah. So the Philadelphia, Delaware Valley, South Jersey market has gotten very, very tight. It's definitely an employees market. So I have employers
Wow.
that very
Does that
tight.
mean they can negotiate for their
They
salaries?
can absolutely negotiate for salaries.
And vacation. And
Vacation. We have
How about
employees. We did a search recently for a software company in Princeton, and the employee, the developer, was leaving a job who we were plucking him from, and as part of his request, he wanted to know that he could get top-notch salary. It was a $120,000 salary. He wanted a bonus. He wanted to know there was a possibility of equity down the road. He wanted 4 weeks vacation, and he wanted to be able to work at home a day a week. And the employer ceded to all these wishes. So it's definitely an employees market. So being very creative, a lot of our clients are having challenges, which is why they turn to us to be very, very creative in how we find talent.
do you help talent find positions as well on the other side?
We will at times. So if it's in our wheelhouse, so if it's a developer, if it's a salesperson, if it's a an account manager, then we will. But we tend to typically focus on the employer side because in our space, the client pays. So it's upon, so we want to meet what their need is. And their need could be anything from an account manager, an accountant, a bookkeeper, anything in the space of running a business.
It's really interesting. I have a friend who's constantly trying to recruit talent, and he finds that the organization that he's trying to recruit to, they have a reputation, and that's just as important. Like you said, it's an employee market, so if they don't like the company, they're not going.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And so companies are doing a lot of creative things now. We have clients one client in Ballackin will put a foosball table in, and they have flexible hours. They have an employee that can work coming in at 7:30 in the morning and leaving at 3:30. So the company's reputation does matter.
Yeah.
Employees and prospective employees will look up the principals on LinkedIn. They'll look up your website. So for them, it really matters.
I remember when the economy tanked, I worked in a startup, and I didn't know there were websites like thevault.com. Do you remember that website?
Sure.
Where you could go and look things up. And I went to this startup not having the comprehension that I could look it up. They'd already been through 2 rounds of layoffs. But they had the cool office and the foosball table, and yeah, it was very seductive.
Yeah, no, it matters, and that's why when you attract talent and when you seek them, when we go about searches, we probably do a 10-prong search. We call into a list of companies they might want. We use extensive means going through LinkedIn and scouring for specific skills. We'll use Indeed. We use a database we have. We'll go to events where there's people that are similar to those people, referrals. It needs to be a very creative marketing process so that then the company is choosing amongst multiple people who they might want to hire.
That's great.
Well, I think the news in this show has been very positive. Employment is strong. I mean, employees being able to negotiate for salary and benefits, something that a few years ago we didn't see. So it sounds very encouraging. Though at the same time, some economists would say maybe we're heading for another peak. Things get very strong, and they get a little bit out of hand. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't believe that we're only going in one direction. So keep both eyes open, and maybe a couple more in the back of your head would be the advice for the evening. So thank you very much, Adam and Patty.
Thank you.
Our next guest, our next show is Mitchell Muldoon, and he is the collection curator. So tune in then to find out what that means. Good evening.